It's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of Unity Train on Unity 93.3 FM and TV this lovely Tuesday morning, the 10th of October 2023. Beatrice Adamoiji remains my name, the anchor of this wonderful program, your number one program on radio, social, political, social, economic program on radio and of course on TV. Of course, what we do is to look at issues as we have them trending on our national dailies. And just after that, we would come up with a topic and we discuss the next segment of Unity Training. After that, too, it will be time for you out there to now throw in your comments regarding every issue that we're bringing on for you this lovely Tuesday morning. And so in the studio this morning, I'm not alone. I have my very own brother and a colleague. Mr. Shaibudoro is in the studio. I'll let him say a very big good morning to you out there, our listener and of course our viewer. Shaibudoro, good morning.
Thank you, Colby. Good morning, viewer and listener. Thank you for staying tuned.
Yes, of course, the only way you can be at peace with yourself, it is to take the decision to live in peace with your neighbor. Peace is possible, and it's that one thing that you cannot afford to throw away, because just when you throw it away, you will discover it's that very thing that you need in order to be able to make it in life. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, Beatrice Adamoiji is my name, and so let's begin this very segment where we have content in it. Okay, just as usual.
Yeah, as usual. As usual.
Yes, and I would have loved we talk about the need to continue to live in peace, looking at protests going on in some part of the country, particularly in Abuja, concerning the issue with Israel and Palestinians. And so we want to encourage, we may not take too much time on that, but of course on this platform, it's that one thing that we really promote, peaceful coexistence. And so with issues like that, we always want to say one or two things before we move forward to having the main headlines for today.
That is necessary, Kobe. And I think what I find commendable, about the protest is the fact that there are Muslims, in Abuja who, there are Muslim protesters, yesterday in Abuja who also apparently aren't quite comfortable with what actually happened, in Israel. In other words, there are Muslims who also joined the protest, to show or register dissatisfaction with the attack launched on Israel by Palestine. And for me, that's the most important part of it. We've always said that what is inhuman is actually inhuman. It does not matter who, although we do know that there's been, an edge-long battle, and a running, conflict between the two countries and things like that, but again, we feel that the attack was not actually, although, of course, Palestine claims that she actually had to do that in reaction or in response to an earlier attack and things like that. In other words, she's trying to show that the attack is provoked, the attack was provoked and things like that, But at the end of the day, I think that, both countries need to find a solution to this.
Yes, because, and that is what...
At the end of the day, those who bear the brunt, those who are the receiving end, are normally innocent civilians who don't even know how this whole thing started, and things like that. And
Dora, I think that's what we must be upright in, lending our voices in order to condemn, not to affiliate with. Once such violence is mated against human beings, and so we condemn that in totality.
Definitely.
Yes, and so we look forward to the end of it anytime soon. Thank you so much, and let's just see this. And this one has to do with economy and, of course, the continent of Africa. And it says it comes from the nation, the world economy, incomplete without prosperous Africa. This one is credited to World Bank and International Monetary Fund as IMF. Let's, of course, Mr. Doro, you see, when you talk about Africa, the continent of Africa, and I want to believe, seeing such institutions with such reputable magnitude, coming to say this. Now, I want to believe it's not just to say it, but let's begin to see how Africa will participate, in leading world institutions and make it prosperous as well.
Definitely. Well, I think will be, if you look at the pattern of economic relations among countries in the world, and if you look at the modus operandi of, global financial institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, if you look at the manner in which some countries have actually treated Africa over time and things like that, you would agree that, of course, Africa is one continent without which, other countries can't even survive. It's a country that bears so much prospect economically, politically, and otherwise. But I think the problem has been, first of all, existential internal problems and all of that, right? And then, of course, probably some other external factors such as, the lopsided nature of the global economic architecture and things like that. This is the issue. And I think, according to the Director General of the World Bank, specifically Mrs. Kristalina Georgieva, she was the one who spoke, yesterday during the flag off of the World Bank and IMF's, a meeting in Morocco. Of course, the IMF and the World Bank normally do meet, triennially to discuss issues that have to do with economic well-being of nations and all of that outside their Washington capital in the United States of America. And this time around, of course, the meetings will be holding in Morocco, of course, an African country. And of course, this will be the first time that Morocco or an African country will be hosting the meetings since 1973. That is 50 years ago, when Kenya actually enjoyed the hosting right and things like that. This is the issue. And so Kristalina was actually saying that it's not possible to have a prosperous global economy without a prosperous Africa. And I think, like I did say, what she's apparently alluding to is the fact that this is a continent which bears so much potentials, so much prospects for economic development and all of that. But of course, that has not actually been seen over time. And so I think it is heartwarming, first of all, that this is happening in Africa. It's going to give the continent a sense of belonging and then an opportunity to also contribute to the global, economic agenda and all of that. But beyond these sorts of rhetorics and other things, like we have always said, could be, like you also rightly mentioned in your preamble, we want to see more of action than talk. We want to see more of walking than talking. This is the issue. And I think that it is true that within Africa, or within African boundaries and within the African continent, or within the frontiers of African nations, of course there are issues that have not actually been tackled, which have made it impossible for Africa to be able to take its rightful place in the scheme of things. You can talk about the menace of corruption. You can see how it has actually stifled development in African countries and things like that. We can talk about insecurity. We know what is happening in Nigeria, in the Sahel region and other parts of Africa and all of that. We can also talk about even separatist agitations and all of that. We can talk about bad governance. All of these issues are there. We can even talk about illiteracy and all of that. These are some of the issues that have made it impossible for Africa to be able to take its rightful place in the scheme of things. But beyond that, I also do know that there are issues that are actually external and which must also be addressed. Yes. And I think that Pan-African scholars that have sometimes attributed Africa's retrogression to some imperialist factors and things like that might not necessarily be wrong. I think they are actually right. There is a manner in which the relationship with other parts of the world, have actually affected Africa's growth and development. And I think while Kristalina is actually saying that it's not possible to have a prosperous world without a prosperous Africa, I think it also should impose or necessitate some moral obligation on the part of even the World Bank, the IMF, and other big countries around the world. This is the issue. Some time ago, when President Tinubu attended the G20 summit in India. Yes, could be. He did mention that. I think when he attended the United Nations General Assembly in Washington just a few weeks ago, he did mention that there's a need for, certain countries or certain actors around the world to stop looting Africa's resources and allow her the opportunity to be able to grow, Kubi. And I think President Tinubu was right. The president of one of the African countries also did draw attention to the lopsided or imbalanced nature of world economic relations or the world economic architecture and things like that. This is the issue. I don't feel that it's possible to have a prosperous Africa when Africa is not allowed the opportunity to be able to benefit from her resources.
Mr. Doro, I think I love it when you said when Africa is not allowed, because the conversation is tilted towards having people to believe that Africa, apart from what we are having internally to deal with, okay, our inability to have been sincere in terms of taking the responsibility of leading the country's African continent, right? There is also that factor that is external, that is not genuinely allowing African leaders to do what they should do to bring about laudable development.
Yes.
So I love it when you say not allowed.
Not allowed.
It's an angle to actually explore.
Definitely, we should be allowed. And like you also alluded, we have our own problems, and we must find ways to address our own problems. But I feel that there are external or extraneous factors that are adding to our problems and things like that. And so I feel that, and if you look at it, you will see that countries that have been able to make some giant strides or make a pathway development-wise have actually had to, at some point in time, defy some of the imperialist, tendencies of certain countries around the world and things like that. Now you look at Nigeria and what is actually going on. Nigeria is one country that is richly blessed and all of that with resources, both human and natural. But you cannot also see where the country is. This is the issue, and that is also because of the sort of interference, and meddlesomeness that we're talking about on the part of other countries. And I think that has to be looked at. You can't be talking about Africa being prosperous when you are the same country, we are the same institutions that actually impose very unfair conditionality for African countries to be able to access loans and things like that. It's not favorable. You can't be talking about a prosperous Africa when you are the same institutions that actually prescribe neoliberal policies for African countries that end up throwing people into poverty and all of these things. You can't be advising African countries to subsidize, to remove fuel subsidy. You can't be advising African countries to subsidize, to reduce spending on education, on social welfare and things like that. I think if you look at Nigeria and other countries around Africa today, you will see that the welfareist state has practically disappeared. You have to pay for virtually everything. And if you have to pay for everything from your own sweat and things like that, I wonder why the state should even exist in the first place. Yesterday, I think we did mention this on the HAUSA version of this program. I did mention that America has continued to prescribe some neoliberal economic policies for African countries, including Nigeria, as a result of which the millions of citizens in those countries have continued to be subjected to artificial poverty and things like that. But these are the same policies that America will not actually prescribe for itself. This is the issue. This is the issue.
And I think, Mr. Doro, you're making me feel that truly, like those who would want to say that the solutions to the problems of Nigeria or African countries is not from outside Nigeria or African continents. It is within us. So when we look within, I'm sure we'll be able to solve a lot more than if we look elsewhere.
Like I did mention, we have our own internal issues. I think that the World Bank and the IMF might not be responsible for the large-scale corruption that is happening in Africa. Number one. Number two, the IMF and the World Bank might not be responsible for the ethno-religious crises that have actually made it impossible for us to be able to adopt a collective approach to our problems. the World Bank and the IMF are not responsible for these problems. We are responsible for these problems.
Yes,
so the religious bigotry, the ethnic bigotry, the chauvinism, the jingoism that characterize inter-ethnic or inter-religious relations in Nigeria are issues that have nothing to do with the World Bank and the IMF. They have to do with us. This is the issue.
Dora, maybe we just leave this here and then let's get to see what is obtainable on Daily Trust. And this one says Nigeria's 82,000 annual maternal deaths unacceptable. This one is credited to stakeholders, and so we have just about limited time also. So let's see what we can do around here.
Well, I think these are some of the issues we're talking about, that Nigeria and other African countries have not been able to achieve development. And I think if you're talking about development, we're actually talking about an improvement or an increase in the magnitude of desirable and preferable index. You're talking about an improvement or an increase, a visible increase in the quality of life and things like that. Not just quantitative issues, but qualitative, issues, whether it's reduction in the level of poverty, reduction in the level of maternal, mortality and things like that, reduction in income inequality and all of these issues. Now, the issue of maternal mortality is also one of the, indicators of development and things like that. A situation where women actually die during or after childbirth in such large numbers is something that is actually not quite palatable, and I think it's also another indicator of how far the country is lagging development wise and things like that. And so stakeholders are saying that it's not acceptable that Nigeria loses about 82,000 women on annual basis, either during or after childbirth and things like that. And what are the issues? The issues are, number one, poor access to health facilities, and I think this is something that we all know, right? In developed climes, and I have always said this, Kobe, in developed climes, I do understand that when a woman is pregnant, I think she's entitled to free prenatal medical care until the time she's able to deliver, and even after delivery, she's also entitled to free postnatal care, right? I think from age 0 to age 5, the child she has and herself will both be entitled to, health care and things like that until the child is 5 years. These are what we have. In fact, in developed climes, we have a situation where caregivers literally or practically even visit pregnant women in their homes to give them counseling, proper advice and things like that. But in Nigeria, the reverse is actually the case. We're not even talking about nurses or midwives going to visit pregnant women at home, because we are not that.
Do you even have them? Do you even have them?
Do we even have them? This is the issue. I think the deficit, the staff, the personnel deficit within the health sector generally has also contributed to, and I think the stakeholders who spoke on this issue yesterday also did mention the issue of lack of skilled birth attendants. And I think when we were talking about organ harvest in Jos with Professor Sabo and other stakeholders sometimes ago, we did mention of these issues.
Availability of
healthcare, especially in Jos North, could be. If you go to some of the hospitals within Jos North, could be, you would weep for this country, you will weep for this state, you will weep for this local government, you will weep for this particular, because at the end of the day, I mean, what's going on? You have even, I mean, we did say something about even the recruitment process. We have mushroom, we have training, health or medical institutions springing up indiscriminately in parts of Jos North, not necessarily Jos North, but I think it's more pronounced here because it's what I'm based there, it's what I have seen over time, and I feel that if something is not done about this, and that is also why you can see, even according to the stakeholders who spoke on this issue, northern Nigeria actually accounts for, globally, Nigeria accounts for 13% of maternal mortality. But of these 13%, northern Nigeria accounts for up to about 7%. Right? That actually then means that northern Nigeria has, a higher, maternal mortality rate than other parts of the country. And it's courtesy of some of these issues that we have actually refused to handle and things like that. This is the issue. So it's a systemic problem, isn't it? You have a situation where even the institutions that are supposed to give the requisite training to caregivers are themselves not properly equipped to be able to shoulder or carry out that responsibility. This is the issue. And so at the end of the day, you discover that what we have as products or as caregivers is nothing more than a reflection of the deplorable training or recruitment processes that we actually have in place and things like that. This is the issue. And so, these are some of the things that need to be. And then, of course, there are issues of even cultural beliefs. There are societies or parts of Nigeria where it is not even allowed to actually take a woman to hospital, and even within northern Nigeria, that also has been another issue. A lot of people don't want to go to hospitals. Women conceive, and then, in fact, even the prenatal care we're talking about, there are women who don't even care to go to hospitals to actually have themselves.
And some
checked.
would prefer to go to the herbals.
Beautiful,
yes,
where they are actually giving dangerous concoctions and things like that. These are some of the issues we need to handle, right? This is, and then of course I do understand there is the issue of poverty, right? It's also one of the reasons why it's difficult for women to go to hospital and be able to access proper care and things like that. So at the end of the day, like I mentioned, it's a systemic problem. We need to have as many health facilities as possible. We need to have as many nurses, as many midwives, as many care attendants as possible. We need to do something to, reverse to do something to improve even the economic well-being of especially women. In a society where you have women being subjected to poverty and things like that, who have no jobs to do, who have no small businesses to do at home and things like that, to be able to support themselves and their little children and their husbands, I think it accounts for some of these issues.
Okay, again, Mr. Doro, before we leave this, we have just about 6 minutes to go on this segment, but before we go on the next headlines, why don't we talk about, sometimes you have a pregnant woman having to go to a hospital and then maybe needing attentions, maybe in times of labor or so, and then people still insist that there should be money, to go through all the processes, and then even drop to deposit before ever they will be attended to. I know of a woman 2 months back in the city of Jos here who lost her life because the husband was not having any money, and so because of the pain, she had to by herself go to the hospital. But maybe they have an ethics that someone has to be there, maybe to sign some 1 or 2 documents before ever probably they give her attention. In the process, there was no money, there was no one to sign any of these requirements, and so she gave up.
Okay, now Kulbi, you look, we were talking about human life. When we were discussing with Professor Sabo some times ago, he did mention that even when there's a policy, I think, even within the Nigerian Medical Association, there's a certain policy of theirs that actually sort of obliges or compels health workers to still be available in hospitals even when the NMA is on strike.
Illegal strikes, yeah.
To be able to offer skeletal health services and things like just so that you don't go to hospital and end up just dying simply because there's no one to attend to you.
We lose the woman and the baby. And this is just one that I know.
This is just one case, but there are many issues. Just a few days ago could be, I think the Senate had to summon Nyesom Wiki and I think the Minister of Health to explain the death of a certain victim of I think a certain kidnap victim who was actually thrown out of a car she boarded by the kidnappers who had taken her and things like that. And so the woman was thrown out of the car by the kidnappers, and then she was some people actually were around there when she was thrown out, and they rushed her to hospital.
Police
and things
reports,
like that. But then when she was taken to hospital, the management insisted on a police extract, a police report before she could be attended to, and that was how the woman actually died. I think
it's about time. Let's do something. Something should be done deliberately and urgently.
In fact,
about
the Senate
reports.
Yes, the Senate actually said could be that the management of that hospital actually had to be sued for manslaughter. Because it doesn't make sense. You can't say we're not going to save a life because there's no police report. It doesn't make sense. And the same thing is the same thing we are talking about. You can't say because there is no money, because some amount of money hasn't been deposited, you're going to allow the woman to bleed to death or to labor to death simply because no, it doesn't make sense. I think the job of a health worker is to first of all save the life. If you don't save the life, where's the money going to come from?
I wrote an article, PLATEAU Publishing Corporation, 5 years back about this. Let me save my brother.
First of all,
so help me instead of all this police report all the time.
It doesn't
even
make
when
sense.
The situation is so critical.
Every other thing is secondary.
Anyway, we just have just 3 minutes, but we'll go 1 minute on this headlines. And this one has to do with very on here. He's saying, I'm alive, it says Yakubu Gowon. Maybe in a minute.
Well, Yakubu Gowon was rumored to have died yesterday, it could be. Strangely. Or well, maybe not strangely, because Nigeria is used to that. At some point, when Lady Eradua was in hospital receiving treatment, I think in London, he was already confirmed dead by Nigerians on social media. Some Nigerians, some Nigerians. Thank you for that intervention. And then when President Buhari too was on medical tourism in London, he had already been pronounced dead by some Nigerians, as you would say, on social media. Now the same thing happened yesterday. I think a certain person, Professor Samuel Gowon Odomie Kumo, a vice chancellor of Delta State University, actually passed on yesterday. And of course, I think he has a certain Gowon in his three names, right? His name is actually Professor Samuel Gowon Odomie Kumo. He passed on yesterday. And I think it's the name of Gowon that probably actually gave room for the rumor and things like that. And so Yakubu Gowon came out to say, no, I'm hale and hearty, I'm doing fine, I'm not dead yet. And one of his friends, Olorogun Kenneth, actually came out to say, look, Baba Gowon is still more alive, and he's not in a hurry to go to the great beyond. So please, we still need him around. And so I think let's understand that Yakubu Gowon is still here, and probably he will be around much longer, because that's somebody we can't afford to lose.
All right, thank you so much. Baba Gowon is still very much alive and healthy, and I am not in a hurry to go on a break. But you see, it's about time we go on a break. When we come back, the discussion continues, and this time around in a different dimension that you cannot afford to miss. And so stay tuned with us in Unity 93.3 FM. Stay tuned.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your...
I was the head boy in my primary school, senior prefect and best graduating student in my secondary school, but drug abuse almost ruined my life.
I was on an average of 2 grams of cocaine per day.
I was taking 8 ampoules of pentazosine daily.
European shisha, cocaine.
I became a user, a dealer, and a gangster.
I saw other users drowning. I knew I didn't want to be like them, but I was already trapped.
My family disowned me.
My employment was terminated.
I sold my car, sold my house. I'll go out well-dressed and return shoeless, shirtless in exchange for drugs.
I was saying things that were not real, and I once stabbed myself because I felt something crawling under my skin.
I contacted NDLEA and started therapy.
I spent 3 months in therapy.
I spent 8 months.
It's easy to relapse, but your mind has to be stronger than the cravings.
Drugs does not love you. You are not the one using drugs. Drugs are the one using you. Say no to drug abuse.
Are you bored and need some company? Get a TV experience like no other on Unity TV. We are turning up the hits with captivating TV shows, electrifying political programs, music, movies, and lots more that will leave you craving. I'm sure you want to know more. Tune in to Unity TV today and let the excitement take over.
Please pay attention. It starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. You turn a blind eye and care nothing less. Say it's just business, all about the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. Say it's just business, all about the money. You know they're on a fast lane, but you've got business to run. So you look away the other way.
It concerns you. It a kill law, it a kill dreams. It a land people for jail. War against drug abuse.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been...
much. I'm so glad that you have being there with us on Unity 93.3 FM and of course Unity TV. I remain Beatrice Adamu E. G, your anchor, Unity Train, this lovely Tuesday morning, the 10th of October 2023. Don't forget, we are reaching you live from the hills of ZINARIYA, Plateau State, Nigeria. Plateau State, remember, is the home of peace and tourism. We do everything possible within our reach to sustain the peaceful coexistence being enjoyed on the plateau. And thank you for being there once again in the studio. It has been Mr. Shaibu Doro, and together we continue even as we await the arrival of our guest today. He's a big fish and he's coming in. Thank you. Doro, let's keep talking about the need to also be a part of making sure peace is sustained, not only on the plateau, but let's look at other external factors that are likely to want to, come up with something that will be very unacceptable for us on the plateau to tamper with the peace that we are actually enjoying at the moment. And so I'm still talking about the Israel, Palestine, and Gaza attacks recently that we. And then you have other countries, showing interest, and others are actually calling for calm, not really taking side, but of course just saying the two, countries should find a way, a common ground, and, put an end to this and so on.
Well, could be at the end of the day, there are only three solutions to any conflict situation. The first is dialogue, the second is dialogue, the third is dialogue.
I was hoping that you will give me.
Well, those are the three solutions. All right. They're not. It's dialogue, and dialogue.
Okay.
You have to sit down and talk about it.
There's no.
There's power in words. There's no problem. There's no matter no matter the magnitude, no matter the enormity of the problem, you can always resolve it amicably through dialogue and all of that. At the end of the day, I think that is what Israel and Palestine might just have to do. Otherwise, the war will rage on, and the world will be the worse for it.
Yes.
We don't want that to happen. Yesterday, Michael Freeman, Nigeria's Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, was actually saying that Israel has already responded, and Israel will do everything possible to make sure that it's able to even inflict, it's going to inflict a bigger pain, on Palestine to actually teach Palestine some lessons that she will not forget in a hurry and things like that. On the part of Palestine, she's actually saying that already she's already got Israeli hostages with her, about 100 of them and things like. So if Israel attempts any attack on her, she's going to actually be left with no option than to actually slaughter or kill those Israeli hostages that she's got in her custody and things like that. So you can then actually see that both countries are not shifting ground, and that is what I think is going to aggravate this particular situation. And then again, I feel like I did mention yesterday, and like I have always maintained, the world has to come clean on as far as some of these issues are concerned. You did mention something which is very instrumental. We can't have peace where a certain number of countries are behind a certain country and supporting it against another, and vice versa. We can't have peace. I think countries must be compelled to actually, subject themselves to the dictates of international, standards, international behavioral standards and things like that.
And
that
this international behavioral standard you're talking about, that too has to be in a way that it will be, it will speak in unison with other people's understanding of what morality is, of what standardization is.
Should actually be,
because I think this also has to do with what we were saying, that there are some policies introduced by international global institutions that has no direct benefit if implemented in some countries. But of course, for some countries, to them, it is going down very well for them and it's helping in terms of their developmental strides and all that. But it's not working for others. So if we're working as a world, the entire world, okay, let's see what policies work here and what doesn't work here, and what are the peculiarities of it working here and not here. So I think that is another angle to also look at.
The modus operandi of the entire international system might need to be reviewed, so that the countries can be on the same page. And I feel the uneven application or the biased application of human rights standards might just be why some of these things have continued to actually hold sway and things like that. I don't see why, for example, America and Britain will actually mobilize the world against Iraq in 1993 and actually force her out of Kuwait in order to actually save the destiny or the future or the well-being of that small country and things like that. And then the same America and Britain and other countries will be keeping quiet, when other countries are actually at war. This is the issue. I do know the Palestinians might say that they have a right to fight because they feel that their territory is being occupied illegally and things like that. I don't want to go into that story and all of that, but I think at the end of the day there has to be some sort of history behind the emergence of nations, right? Nigeria came about as a result of colonialism, right? Every country has actually come to be as a result of one historical factor or another. Now the Jews are actually saying this is our homeland, divinely given to us by God himself. Okay, fine. We do understand that, right? Then, but at the end of the day now, even if, no matter how much Palestine does not want to hear that, I don't see, the Jews actually leaving Israel anytime soon. I don't see them actually saying, okay, yeah, we understand your grievances, we don't like the fact that we are here, okay, fine, we're leaving your country, we're leaving your territory, we're finding another place. It's not going to happen. Like, that's why I said there has to be some sort of history behind the emergence of nations and things like that. And so, like some people are proposing, maybe the two-state solution is probably the way to go. The two-state solution here is a situation where both countries will simply coexist as a single entity, right? Israel as one country, Palestine as one country, based on a mutually agreed based on mutually agreed terms and conditions. I think that should be the way to go.
Which can only be achieved three outlets solutions.
The two-state solution, yes.
You say dialogue. So it's only dialogue that can bring about the issue of, okay, let's consider if we can go by this option.
This is the issue. Now, Michael Freeman yesterday, when he was speaking on TVC on this issue, he did say that of course, Palestine is claiming that the attack was sort of provoked. It was retaliatory and all of that because there had been a previous attack on Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third holiest site for Muslims around the world and things like that. And of course, it's also a place that, bears a lot of spiritual, relevance or significance to even the Jews themselves and things like that. This is the issue. But Michael Freeman, Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, actually said yesterday that, look, there was no such thing. As we speak, there are no Israeli troops even in Gaza. There's no such thing. So that's number one. And number two, there was no attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which which Palestine is trying to make the world believe and things like that. Now the stories are sort of conflicting from both sides and things like that. I don't know who is coming clean or not, but at the end of the day, I feel that whether we like it or not, I think Israel and Palestine are already, I think they're stuck in this, right? The best thing to do is to just find a solution that is going to work for everyone. And I feel the two-state solution might just be the most viable of them all. You understand? Let Israel and Palestine actually coexist side by side as two separate countries. It's simple, based on some mutually agreed terms and conditions. Okay, we're not going to be attacking you, you're not going to be attacking us, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that, and then we can have peace. But if this goes on, I think the world will be the worse for it.
Yes, of course. I think, still talking about the need to ensure that peace return, we too must continue to emphasize on the need for us to sustain peace on the plateau. But at this point also, Mr. Doro, our guest is already seated, and I'm sure he's somebody who is friendly to the microphone, and so by now I wouldn't want to take some more time just because I want him to catch his breath. I'm sure the mic is not strange to him, and so I would just switch on to have him to say good mornings to our listener and our viewer. Our guest is seated, and let me just go straight forward to introducing him. But before I do that, I want you to know that the development, the good works of every government is highly dependent on what its citizens are able to see with their very own eyes. But this also has to do with the number of days that you have in as a leader. And so it's been over 100 days since the present administration of Barrister Caleb Mutfwang, the executive governor of Plateau State, a wonderful state. And today, in the studio of Unity 93.3 FM and of course TV, we have one and only. This is somebody who, like I've said earlier on, he's not a stranger, he's not a first-timer, he's a friend to the microphone and a commissioner for information. And then he'll be greeting you in a moment. Before he says good morning, I'll let Doro to say another big good morning, and then our guest will now himself say good morning. We don't have
well, good morning. Just as simple as that. Just so that we don't actually, take our guest time. I can see he's arrayed in his green cap, ready to actually let it out.
Oh, thank you very much. Like I was just about to let you know that the success of every government, I told you, is dependent on the amount of what the people, its citizens, can see readily available for them to make good use of them. And so 100 days in office, over 100 days in office, and that we'll be looking at today. And we have in the studio Honorable Musa Ibrahim Ashams, a commissioner for information, Plateau State, of course, Nigeria. He's seated. I'll say good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you very much. That voice, I'm sure you're familiar with that voice. But this is the first time after a long while, coming to the studio. And of course, let me say congratulations. Looking at the tribunal, judgment. Do I say verdict now? Whatever. Well, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you very much. We want to thank Plateau people for investing their trust on us, because there were a plethora of persons that contested the governorship election, but they tilted our way. That is because maybe they feel we have what it takes to lead Plateau to glory, because they feel we have what it takes to lead Plateau on development strides. And we do not take that for granted. We respect the fact that the people, out of all their engagements, deposited their trust on us. Like I will always say, we're not going to betray that trust. We'll work hard, we'll burn candles, we'll stay up at night, late at night, early in the morning, to make sure that the dividends of democracy is dished out to the people. And again, in Nigeria, when people lose elections, sometimes it's a difficult thing to take. It's a bitter pill to swallow. They will have to look for means where they will address their issues. In our own issue, it was crystal clear that the people tilted the PDP way, the people tilted the Caleb Mutfwang way, and of course, because they've trusted us with their mandate, it is not going to be bruised, it is not going to be siphoned, it is not going to be squandered. We'll do everything within our power, like I always say, to make sure that the people do not regret towing our path. So we want to thank Plateau people for investing their mandate, for investing their trust, for investing their states in our hands. Your state is safe, your votes are safe, your mandate is safe.
And the land is green.
And the land is green. All right. I'm so happy to hear you now saying that the trust of the people will not be dashed out for any reason in the world. And also for you to, on air, say that you burn candles and then have all the time given to the people. And I want to believe this is one of the reasons for which you are here. If not for the fact that you want to speak to these people and also demand for more of their confidence and collaborations, you won't be here. And so thank you for coming.
I want to thank Unity FM. In case you do not know my history, I caught my analytical teeth in Unity FM.
Okay.
After a day with them, I came here. At that time, Bello Lukman was the anchor, and he kept bringing me back and forth. Even when I was stuttering, even when the English was not coherent, he kept bringing me, and until he made the media space my comfort zone.
I see.
And I want to say Unity FM has done it well for me as a person, and I'm using this medium to say thank you for the opportunity. Without Unity FM, perhaps, maybe I wouldn't have been commissioner. That you can take to the bank.
Oh my, this is wonderful. Okay, let's go back to...
That's really hard work.
Yes.
So I want to appreciate this platform. I want to appreciate the management and staff of this great establishment. It has given our people a voice. Well, at that time, I was in the opposition, and it gave me a voice. And I always tell people that now that we are on the saddle of leadership, we will not gag the opposition too.
Definitely.
Because without platforms like this, we wouldn't have been heard.
Definitely.
So we'll also hear the other voices, so that it will help us. So when they raise these observations, when they raise these concerns, we'll address them.
All right, very quickly, and now let's look at what you have to say as regard. You have had more than 100 days in office. And so what would you say categorically that is a landmark achievement?
Is the land actually green?
Okay, the land as you can see is green. 100 days. We are guided by a constitution as a people. And in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there is no place where you find that your benchmark is 100 days, is 1 year. If you are out for leadership, you start from the very first day. In fact, before you are being sworn in as a governor, or whichever position, you go for retreats, you go for workshops, there's a transition committee that has been set up. So you kickstart, you hit the ground running on day one. So if you say you're waiting for 100 days as your benchmark, you might lose the mark. Like on the plateau, in Nigeria, except for states that have staggered elections, for most states, you have been sworn in on the 29th of May.
Yes.
And if you know very well, 29th of May is in the thick of rains. So if you want to bring the kind of development we should bring, because Nigeria is underdeveloped. Nigeria is not even developing, it's underdeveloped. So you must build roads, you must build schools and all of that. And for those in the construction industry, they know that it is not a good atmosphere for such development. So the man who is in charge of Plateau Road Maintenance Agency was a federal civil servant that worked with Federal Ministry of Works. So he understands the job. That is why Governor Caleb Muftuan gives people that understand the job.
So he made an articulate individual.
An example.
Commissioner for
Thank you very much. And he goes against all odds to make sure that he puts round specs in round holes. Then he advised that for us to construct roads, we'll have to hold on for a while. We shouldn't be in a haste, so that 100 days people will not say, we did 100 days, they've done this road and that road. Then after the next 100 days, you have more potholes. If you noticed, in the first 100 days, we're trying to fix systems, we're trying to fix institutions. Those are not visible to normal people. But in Plateau State University, for example, there were courses that have failed accreditation. When you open a university or an institution, you must fund it. So these courses, if you go to school and you study them, as far as the Nigerian Universities Commission is concerned, you only took a stroll in the university because they have failed accreditation. So those courses, we have a lot of them in the Plateau State University. The government had to pay over 300 million naira for them to be given accreditation. So that students and graduates of those courses will be recognized. They can go for National Youth Service Corps. They can be recognized as graduates of that department. You know, remember in the past, people would graduate from PLATEAU and they stay 3-4 years without going for NYC. If you ask around, you will get the answers. So we don't want to toe that path again. It was a dangerous one for our state.
And that can be very unsettling psychologically.
Do you understand? If you had gone for another course, maybe you would have been a graduate. But you're waiting for just that one that you went to. And you know, the economic hardship and the burden on our parents and guardians and even on ourselves. We said that that would be unkind, that would be uncalled for. As a government that came with the time is now mantra, we should make sure that we do things timely. And the time for us to pay for that accreditation is now, and we have done that. If you come to Plateau State Polytechnic, we had such issues too, such challenges. So the governor, in his wisdom, thought that it is wise for us to do all of that. So we paid for Plateau too, and for Plateau Polytechnic, so that at that echelon, at that level of academics, we do not have issues. Because the opinion molders, the gatekeepers of our society, the leaders of today, the leaders of the time is now are being molded in such institutions. And again, it will shock you to know that we didn't stop just at state-owned institutions. Like if you go to the University of Jos, the dental department there is suffering because there are equipments that they do not have. And they do not have accreditation too. So it means that if you come from wherever in Nigeria and you come to this federal institution and you study dentistry, at some point you will not be given dental registration, you will not graduate and all of that. So we have tried to fix all of that too.
Okay.
Then in the past, sir, when there is a pogrom, when there is annihilation, when there is attack, people's homes are being destroyed, their farms too get destroyed. So as a government, we thought that if you are weeping because you've lost your means of livelihood and your loved one, there is going to be an end to weeping. You cannot weep forever so long as you are alive. You must survive.
Yeah.
So as a government, we sat down and we thought very deep and we said, okay, what will these people resort to after the carnage, after experiencing this destruction? And we agreed that we should farm their lands for them.
Okay.
So the most affected local governments as at the time we came were Riombari, Keladi and Mangu. So we had to cultivate 900 hectares. If you know 900 hectares, that is what we cultivated. Yes, we cultivated 900 hectares, but because the rains were fizzling out, you cannot reproduce or replace the crops they had planted, like maize and potato.
Definitely.
So what we did was, as a government, we looked for experts to advise us, and they said groundnuts and soya beans and beans are the crops that this rain can sustain. So we planted this, and we thought that if you allow them stay like the other ones, they can go through what the other ones went through. They can be destroyed. So what we did was to involve the Nigerian Securities and Civil Defense Corps. They have what they call the Agro Rangers to safeguard these places. So I want to use this medium to thank the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps for safeguarding the farms of Plateau. And we hope that we'll expand very soon, since we have a way of protecting our farms now.
Definitely.
So we'll expand so that the agricultural productivity that we are known for is not going to be a thing of the past. You know, people will say, I get them before, not be property.
Yes.
That's in pidgin English. So we want things that used to be great on the plateau in the past for them to be greater now with this opportunity that we've been given. We don't want to be belaboring ourselves in giving reference to the past that is positive and always saying the present is negative. Why shouldn't we have a more positive present?
All right. Well, thank you very much. Very quickly, sorry, we have to rush you because of time. Now, talking about leadership, you know, there's hardly any that does not go through challenges and so on and so forth, especially on the plateau. What would you say has been the challenge so far, whether to you as commissioner or even the Plateau State government in Charlie? So what would you say?
I've always told myself that when you come into governance, it's for you to provide solutions. Not to dwell in
the challenges.
Challenges are good.
Yes.
Like Wole Soyinka will say, forget the past and forfeit the future. The past gives you a reference to what you're doing now, and now will propel you and ginger you into what you will do tomorrow. When we came in, Plateau State has been badly bruised by maladministration. Unfortunately, I'm saying this on TV and radio. We're supposed to be a state that is a trailblazer. Because if you come to Plateau State, it's a rainbow. You find everybody here.
Definitely. A miniature Nigeria.
Do you understand? There are no Nigerians that you don't find here.
Yes, there is no Nigeria.
And
you
even
don't have
Europeans,
represented on the Plateau.
Shockingly, sir, in the 60s and 70s, aside from Lagos, which was our economic capital, you find more Europeans in Jos than anywhere because of our clement weather. But the way we lived, we've sent some of them packing. The way we lived as a people, we send some of us packing. And you know, that is not correct, and it's not fair. It's injurious to the state. And as a government, we met a lot of things. You know, when the transition committee was inaugurated, we realized that the loan on the plateau loan on the state is about 300 billion naira. And salaries that the last government left was to the tune of 11 billion naira. And there are persons on the plateau that have been given voluntary services. Imagine that you're working in Unity FM and you're doing it voluntarily, and it's a job that you can do. And when there's room for employment, they bring an outsider and they sack you. Like if you go to Plateau Polytechnic, people have been lecturing for 15 years, they didn't find them wanting in any way. But when there was room for employment, neophytes were brought in. Political leanings were considered, relationship and all those things were considered. And you begin to ask, where is the place of fairness? Where is the place of equity? Where is the place of justice? And that's why we had to set up a committee to look at those employments. Yes, they apply to people, we agree. Do they need to be employed? Yes. Do they deserve to be employed? Yes. But you should give people jobs they can handle. Like fella will say, carpenter, we know sabi in work,
Yes, that's why. You see, that's also why it's good to have a young man, you know, I mean, occupying some of these positions and things. Probably you wouldn't be singing these and if you weren't, you know, energetic enough to do that. But sir, talking about recruitment, you just said something, you know, that has caught my attention. Is that what informed the retrenchment? Because, I mean, there have been allegations of unfair retrenchment by the Mutfang administration. Some people were said to have been paid 3 months' salaries only to end up being retrenched and things like that. You know, I mean, do you want to, are you justifying that decision?
For sounding apolitical or not to be politically correct, it's not retrenchment per se. They are asked to hold on until an investigation is carried on. Those of them that are qualified, they are Plateau people. We cannot come and lie to you on TV, on radio, and say we do not have room for employment. There is a need for it. People need to be employed, yes. If you go to some agencies, you will find that we only have 9 people. And by next year or by ending of this year, some will be retiring. You understand? It's like in the civil service, there were times that they recruited people. They overbloated it, and now people are retiring, and you do not have fresh bloods. You don't have fresh bloods in them. You know, when you want to recruit, when you bring in the best, you will see the best results.
Definitely.
You understand?
Definitely.
But when your recruitment is laced with sentiment, when your recruitment is laced with religiosity, with us and them, when you begin to split along the us and them clan, you have a lot of issues. Shockingly, sir, I do not deserve to become a commissioner, but because the governor feels I have what it takes to be a commissioner, today I'm here. And sorry to say, whichever studio I go to, they know that I have the capacity and capability to handle this job.
In fact, when I came, sir,
yes, sir,
you're going to land on that, but you're a young person and then you look much even younger. Is this government youth compliant?
It
Would
is.
You want to also
it
say
is.
something
Shockingly,
like that?
as young as you think I am, I have 5 other persons that are younger than me in this cabinet as commissioners in the State Executive Council.
Interesting.
In the past, we can only be personal assistants to commissioners, but this governor has taken everybody along. You can see we have 4 women in the State Executive Council. We have elderly people. We have a retired director, so that the old will lead us when we are faltering, when we are stuttering, when we are going astray. We have middle-aged people, and we have some of us, and even some of us do have people that are younger than them.
It's always that way.
You see, so it tells you that this government is a youth-compliant government. If you go to the chief executive of the federal and state board of internal revenue, he falls within my age bracket. If you see the general manager of Just Metropolitan Development Board,
he was here a while.
Do you understand? So people are given responsibilities so that when we fail, the youth behind us will not allow us to continue, because they will feel we are squandering their opportunity. Because tomorrow they will give references with us, whether negative or positive. So now that you've been given the opportunity to serve, shouldn't you want your name to be written in gold? Don't you want posterity to be kind to you and other younger persons, so that they will use you as an example? I say, when Musa Ashams was commissioner, we had this, go to the ministry and ask. I'm not blowing my trumpet. We've been around for just 2 months or so. Go to the ministries where these young people have been given the responsibility to steer the ship, and you get the feedback. You're a journalist.
All right, Commissioner, I'm so excited to hear from you already. It's 9 o'clock, and we will go on a short break. Our listener and, of course, our viewer, our Honorable Commissioner, is in the studio, and I can assure you there's that time for you to throw in your comments, and so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your...
Please pay attention. It starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. You turn a blind eye and care nothing less. Say it's just business, all about the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. Say it's just business, all about the money. You know they're on a business to run. So you look away the other way.
It concerns you. It kill law, it kill dreams. It land people for jail. War against drug abuse.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited today again and again. It's Unity 93.3 FM and Unity TV. Beatrice Adomuiji remains my name. And in the studio, I have, before I introduce our guest, of course, you have to also be reminded that Shaibu Joro is still in the studio. And we are honored to have a Commissioner for Information, Plateau State, Nigeria. He's in the studio, Honorable Ashams, and so he's a friend of the microphone. And so let's just hit the ground running in terms of our discussion. We'll just give him a few more minutes to just cap up on whatever else he needs to say, and then we'll put on the studio line so that you too can call and make your contributions. And that's how we'll do it. I apologize. We have to buy into your time, Commissioner. So what have you to say now, if I give you just 3 minutes to cap up on anything else, like the Okada's issues in this, just metropolis, and then also the palliative thing? Okay.
There's allegations surrounding the exclusion of a certain religious group and things like that.
So, out to you.
Like I will always say, it's quite unfortunate that we're even towing this path. On a good day, we would have loved to live peacefully. Would have loved to have harmonious coexistence so that nobody even brings palliative. On the plateau, people know how to struggle for their survival. People find a way. You find women crushing stones. You find young people doing jobs that bring food to their table. And the palliative by the First Lady is a welcome development because something bad has happened to us. But when you begin to limit beneficiaries to religion and tribes and clannish issues, it breaks my heart as a person. The issue is that those that have been affected by this pogrom, they are in their numbers. And she brought in 500 million naira for 500 people. There's no how you will share that 500 million and you will not have complaints. Shockingly, when JNI spoke, the camp chairman, Plateau State 2, called me that he was going to write to that there was marginalization, that we didn't give the church a percentage. And we said we were only looking at those that were affected. We were not profiling them based on religion. It's quite unfortunate that when you're in government, whatever you do, there must be somebody out there to say you are right or wrong. But we want to satisfy our conscience. It is the names that were generated from the communities that were affected that we used. In the list, there were a lot of mistakes. I want to say it here on TV and radio. The mistakes were that if we wanted to open we want a Joro to be a beneficiary, and Joro does not have an account, Joro will now say, please make James the beneficiary because he has an account. You understand?
Bank account.
Bank account.
Okay.
So when you see James, you will not be angry that James is even doing well.
So
why would you now bring his name in the list? You understand? So some of these communities have their sharing formula. When they are given 30 or 40 slots, in their own community, they will say, no, we will not take only 40 people. Though. The number that were affected were at ways 40. What we'll do is we'll split it into 250. But we do not trust certain persons. If money hits their account, retrieving it is going to be difficult. Definitely. So what we'll do is put Musa Ashams. So Musa Ashams only appears as a representative. Do you understand? But when these hues and cries came on board, as a government that listens, we said, okay, what's the point? Let those names only featured for presentation's sake and purposes. Now, let's go back to these communities. Opening a bank account is not rocket science. If you've not had a bank account in the past, okay, let's go now. Are you from Riom? The closest bank to you could be Mbari Keladi or just South Bukuru.
Then go ahead.
Let's go to Bukuru. You open an account, and it was not cash that was brought in, sir. It was bank draft. Then we lodged the bank draft in your name, so that we don't have all these hues and cries. Governance, we have a lot that Plateau is bleeding at. We have a lot of development challenges. I am from Zandi. is like 30 kilometers from where we are sitting, but it will take you 3-4 hours before you get there. You understand? And there are a lot of communities like that on the plateau. If you go to Basa here, behind the fence of Rukuba Barracks, how many kilometers is it to Jebu? But you will take hours. If it rains, it will take you hours. If you leave Maza here on your way to Jos East, if you are going to Shimankar, if you are, plenty places are in need of development. If you come to Jos, where they call Jos City or Jos Town, some places have never seen tarred road since the beginning of Jos. If you go to when I came here, I didn't mention how we're making roads. Ask the people, they will tell you what we're doing.
We have been receiving
we
calls every day.
So let's shock you. We've agreed as a government that we will not celebrate patching of roads because we're going to construct new roads. So why should we be celebrating patching of roads? If you go to Angwaru Kubana New Road, unannounced, you find us there.
Yeah, we're quite aware that's going on.
Do you understand? If you go in these issues, you begin to be scared of the kind of leadership we want in this country. People will want you to have skilled development, skilled leadership. They want you to be one-sided. They don't want to see you do a lot of things for other persons. Sir, as far as we're here, this is God's destiny for us. If God wants us to be Christians, all of us, does he need to ask us? Does he need to take excuse from us? If he wants us to be Muslims, all of us, it is taken, it is given, it is generic. There's nothing anybody can do. There's nothing any Jupiter can do. But once we're here as a people, the beauty is that we must learn to live in peace with one another. We must learn to create an atmosphere, an ambience that development can thrive. Because without peace, you cannot be doing this road. Nothing can be done. Without peace, I wouldn't be here. Without peace, you wouldn't be here. You will be in your houses, or policemen will be guiding you unnecessarily.
That is if I have one.
That is if you have one. So I feel as a government, we are here to work. The governor that Plateau people have chosen loves Plateau. He has beautiful and robust ideas on how to develop Plateau State. As we're talking, we've started distributing fertilizers at a very subsidized rate. A bag that was sold at 30,000 is now 15. The one that was more than that is now around 9,000. So every ward on the plateau is going to benefit from it. But you're buying, it's not for free. We have subsidized for you. So if you're going to do dry season farming, you have fertilizer. If you're going to wait until the next wet season, you have fertilizer already in your house. So that is what we're trying to promote, so that our people will farm all through, so that there's no season for farming. And you talk about Okada.
Yes, that too.
Okada, there's an extant law banning it. And most of the people that have come to just to do Okada, it is because they were banned in another state. So if you follow the rules of another state, why shouldn't you follow the rules of our own state?
Definitely.
You understand? Okada is a means of livelihood for a lot of people. We acknowledge that fact. But if you have an accident on Okada today, it does not have a number plate. The man looks like a ninja. He has covered his face. You don't even know how to describe him. And ask people the atrocities that have been committed by these people. Not all of them. If you say all of them, that would be unfair. That would be unkind.
Yes.
There are a lot of them that are kind. There are a lot of them that have added value and are law abiding.
Yes.
But it's an extant law. It is not our law. It is the law of the land. It's not a personal thing. And again, a lot of people have defied this law. There is this HAUSA that Abudoka Azona Lapia. Very, very important. And for Kekema Pep, if you go around Jos now, some people end around 11, some around 10, some around 9, as if we're in a state of anarchy. We cannot watch these things happen. It's unfair to us as a government.
Now, if you ban commercial motorcycles, are you going to provide an alternative means of livelihood for the people who are going to...
There is a ban already. It's not as if. If you say if, it's conditional. It's for them to adhere. It's for them to follow the rule that has always been there.
So will there be an alternative arrangement?
There are alternatives already. You know, in the past, if you grew up in Jos, you know that we used to use ladies' machine as Okada. Today, have you seen any ladies' machine?
No.
Do you understand? There are times and seasons for everything. People are tilting towards using CNG. We are using Okada. The populace, the general public must help government too in developing. This is 2023. I know that we are backward to a large extent, but we cannot continue to be backward. If you go to Kigali, for example, they use Okada, regulated Okada, number plates, helmet for passenger and rider, and they have numbers, so if anything happens, you know them, and they are well organized.
So why don't we do that? We
don't have Okada yet until we get to that point. The usage of Okada in the Just Greater Master Plan has been banned. Not today.
I know.
It's just that they've been violating the laws and they've been left to do that thing. Like, for example, if we are a government that has human face, if, for example, you just do it within your communities, will we go in there and arrest you? But you come to the highways and you're competing with cars. And, for example, in the past, you know, there is a law that Kekena Pep ends by 6.
Yes.
But they've been diluting it. We shouldn't continue like that. Somebody told me that there is no law on the plateau. We cannot continue like that, sir. You know, laws, if you want to be emotional, if you want to be sentimental about them, you never grow. You never grow.
All right.
If you want to say, okay, because it's a means of livelihood, yes, we agree. So you mean when somebody is a thief and he says because his father didn't give him food in the afternoon, that is justifiable? You understand?
All right.
There is a law banning Okada on the plateau. People should comply to it so that we look for other alternatives. Kekena Pep, it was 6 o'clock. We have extended it to 7 o'clock so that the city doesn't get shut down by 6 o'clock. Okay. So we are looking at that with human face. If security improves, we can do Keke till daybreak, because the AM economy alone cannot help us.
All right.
Because by 6 o'clock, if everybody is rushing back home, by 7 the place looks like grave.
It has a way of affecting.
You understand? It has a way of affecting the economy. So the microeconomic activities that must happen in the daytime and at night.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. At this point, we'll just let our listener and viewer to throw in their comments and also begin to call. If you call us, please just go straight to telling us your name and where you're calling us from. Then go ahead in a minute or even less if you can do that for us, so that we can have as many callers as possible. Okay, the number to call remains 070-3235-3315. And again, comments made on those platforms are not in any way the position of Unity 93.3 FM and TV. You can go on our Facebook page and I'll read your comments in due time. Okay, I have this one, a comment from our Facebook page is coming from Asobagun Francis. They say, good morning, gentlemen, and the studio is another day today given to us freely by God. And may we use it wisely. If Nigerians, the citizens, used their data on social media, well, no one will go hungry. But it's very unfortunate that the anomalies happening in the social media is worrisome. The insults, abuse, blames, accusations, and bad prayers is enough. God bless our state and Nigeria. I say amen to that, Asobagun Francis, for sending in your comments. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Oh, thank you very much. Who is with me this morning?
Hello.
Yes, your name, please.
Hello,
please, it's good to have you. You have a minute, please. Go on.
Yeah, welcome the Honorable Commissioner in the House, and I think we all need to commend him.
Right.
He is a very good fellow and he's doing well.
Right.
The Honorable Commissioner will say that the Lord will continue strengthening you and giving you the more wisdom and understanding you need.
Amen.
Sir, the only thing I just want to say is that this issue of 66 of Keke, as you said, you rightly said, the economy, by that 6 o'clock in the evening, that should be 10, people should be closing from their activities in the town. So it should be very hard for people. So please, if it is possible, this 6 should be shifted to 7 o'clock. At least anybody doing anything in the market, anywhere.
Thank you.
Should know that by 7 it should be going.
Thank you very much.
Please, we need you to take into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling. Yes, so again on Facebook, Honorable Abubakar, as they say, my brother and leader, the Honorable Commissioner of Informations and Communications, Plateau State, Mr. Musa Ashams, is doing very well, and we will not regret his actions and inactions. Inshallah, he has my prayers and support. Abubakar Aziz Kies. Thank you, Abubakar Aziz Kies.
I care for you too.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Who is with me this morning?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is I'm calling from TC and T Junction.
Sadiq, I'm so happy to hear from you. You have a minute, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sadiq, I will comment to the Honorable. So the Honorable Commissioner is one of the commissioners that Plateau never regret by the appointment of His Excellency Barrister Khaled Wilson. And when we look at what happens after the emergency of PDP in Plateau, it's something that every person has felt it, even the blind man has felt it, because everything has just started running, because what people are not expecting starts happening.
All right.
The extent that against voting for PDP.
Thank
you. So we have a lot of trust in this government, and we are giving them our mandate and the trust that they will deliver. And we have seen it from the starting.
Thank you very much.
We are calling on the people to give the government the support, especially when it comes to issue of insecurity and other cooperation that the government needs. So the land is great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mutala Yahayama Igia say good morning, Kubi, Shoaibu Doro, and your guests. Keep up the good work and do have a wonderful day. God bless Plateau State and Nigeria at large. From Mutala Yahayama Igia from Enshanu. You're welcome, Igia, for sending in your comments. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kubi.
Oh, thank you very much. Amen.
Mr. Doro and the guests in the studio.
Amen already.
Thank you. Calling you from
Thank you. You have a minute.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
God continue to bless you.
Amen and amen.
We just need to unite ourselves.
All right.
The only thing we need is just to be our brother's keeper. As much as we see ourselves as one. The Plateau State is exceptional. I just want to say this. You see, Governor Zulum built an health center in 100 days in office. And even Governor, the Vice President said, is it in 100 that you are able to achieve this aim? You see, it's very important that we become transparent and be very accountable in everything we do. So let's be our brother's keeper always. And you see that Plateau State will move ahead. But we Nigerians too, we are not doing the needful. We will take a chance to stop by 6 o'clock. We will go against the rule. Let's go by that rule and see what will happen. You see, we need to be law-abiding people. Once we are law-abiding, even the God will always continue to be on our side.
Thank
if
you.
we are not on that side, I will be condemning the government. It's not proper. Please, let's do the needful and God will bless us. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Adewumi. Okay, this one is coming from Ajiji Nyamson. He's saying, Honorable Asham is dissecting it well. Proud of you, sir. Okay, and this one is coming from Ahmad Haruna Masu. He's saying, Unity trained student Haruna Ahmad Mazu from Yenshanu. The guest has spoken very well, sir. Here in Yenshanu and Tudun OC, people were different from dust as results of abundant projects. Please tell the executive governor we have confidence in his governance and leadership style. Let him please come to our rescue. Thank you very much for sending in that. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Oh, it's good to have you. Please, your name.
Thank you, Kubi and the Honorable Commissioner.
Yes.
I'm Musa Aike Kalu calling you from Olguji.
You have a minute or even less if you can give that to us, please. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just unfortunate the situation we find ourselves. When the Commissioner is mentioning that this is a law, in an environment where there's no continuity, that is how we get ourselves in this mess. Since in the past, if every government has been continuing on it, we will be talking about this thing today. When the laws of Bukolo was passed by Babajan, if every successful government has been going on it, we will continue like this. So we should talk about continuity.
Thank you.
You see, some are building and some are destroying. We will continue like that. The government has come back now and introduced environmental sanitation. As this is a new thing to us. We should try and build institutions irrespective of political affiliation. Anybody that comes into power must continue from where everybody starts so that it becomes battle of us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for calling and for lending in your voice. And this one is coming from Ephraim Nankling. Okay, say, Honorable Commissioner, I'm indeed very proud of you, sir. May Plateau succeed. May Mutfang succeed. Amen. Say amen to that.
Amen. The thunderous one.
Yes.
Hello, good morning, Kulbi.
Yes, it's good to have you.
Doro, and good morning, Honorable Asham.
Thank you very much.
Peace Ambassador Abdullah Rokibu calling from Gengeli.
As usual, a minute, Peace Ambassador. Go on.
Asham is a media friendly.
Yes.
As you said it before, it's always a radio station. Actually, that is the fact.
Yes.
But Honorable Asham, I want to say something about that issue that you talk about.
Yes.
The information is power. That time, if you say you come to the media or Facebook page of the government and explain that thing about that name, it will not circulate much. You understand? So try, information is power. You are a media friendly. Anytime if this incident happens, come out and speak to people.
Thank you.
I know some people will understand, some people will not understand. I am always stand for peace.
Thank you, Abdullah Rocky Boy, for sending in yours. And this one is coming from, he's saying, good morning, Kubi, Mr. Doro, and the Honorable Commissioner in the studio. The Commissioner has spoken so well. I just pray that all he said will be sustained, especially farming for displaced people. All we need is for Plateau to be peaceful so that people can do their businesses and even investors can come in to invest so that we can have a Plateau of our dream. I pray God bless your leaders from the presidents to the councillors with wisdom like that of Solomon of old so that they can do the needful. Peace is priceless. Let's live in peace. God bless Unity FM. God bless Nigeria. Christy Izang from Rukuba Road. Thank you. Hello. Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, we begin to round up now so that you can respond. Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, sir. It's Minasara from Wisconsin.
Please, go on. You have just about a minute.
Thank you, sir. I'm greeting the Honorable Commissioner and all of you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I am appreciating the job that is going on in Plateau. Khalid is one that is trying to make peace in Plateau, to make sure that he doesn't care about religion or ethnic group.
Yes. Thank you.
I thank the governor of repairing our road.
Thank you very much, Mainasara.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mainasara would always call to tell me, to give me reports in a program I do from 7:30 a.m. every day, Mondays to Fridays. He will always call and say, we've seen construction, or is it repairs, construction going on this street, not only in his community. This morning he calls and tells me about, he told me about the one going on at Warukuba. Yes, and now, knowing that you're in the studio, he feels he can say that himself. And thank you, Mainasara, for doing that. And this one is coming from, he said, good morning, Kubi and Doro and the guest. The commissioner really speak with passion. Please try to fulfill your promises. Peter Bala from Gumo. Thank you, Peter Bala. And this one also an SMS saying, good morning, Kubi, Doro, and Honorable. Please, Honorable, if you don't have any net name, I have one for you. Mr. Point Blank, or say the way. It is. Okay. May Allah. Okay. Do not give authority to a leader over us who don't fear you and don't have mercy upon us. Amin. Hassan Garba. Hassan G, thank you. That's the much we can take.
The Honorable Commissioner
a name. Yes, give me Mr. Point Blank. Good morning. You may be our last caller today.
Thank you. My name is Chief Ambassador I'm coming from ZINARIYA.
Okay, you're welcome.
I really, Honorable Commissioner, we really appreciate your coming to Unity FM this morning.
Yes.
I really will want, anytime if there is anything very tangible, you people should be try and come to say it in order people to hear it. So God bless you people. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. This is because what you said about palliative is really having some people relieved from what they were actually, growing on, accepting, and so they just played it to have more and more of you as issues continue to unfold. So now you just have 3 minutes or 5. What can you do around this?
For the media, we're not scared of the media.
Sure you're not.
It's just that in Jos already, we have over 10 radio stations.
Oh my.
And Plateau is a part of Nigeria. There are other media platforms too that covet our thoughts on national issues. And on this matter, I've been on Arise TV, I've been on TVC. Maybe because this is local, we should also engage locally. I was on Rhythm to discuss some of these issues. We will try as much as possible to divulge the information that our people need, because that is our job. I'm being paid to tell our people what we're doing. So I won't be scared of our people. And I would like to hear a feedback from them too. While they were saying we've done this and that, it gives me joy. I want posterity to be kind to us. I want in the history of Nigeria, like we always talk about J.D. Gomwok, like we talk about Solomon Lar, like we talk about Jonah David Jang, we should also talk about Caleb Muftwang. As a commissioner, when you have a governor that does not have the want for development, you're just going to suffer. In my own case, I have a governor that is a talk and do governor. Sometimes he doesn't even talk, but he does. For example, I'm happy that somebody G was giving you feedback on what we have been able to achieve.
Yes.
We're going to achieve a lot. I'm not just saying it to impress our people. I'm not saying it to massage anybody's ego. Some of us want to walk on the streets of Jos, and when they see our children, they'll be like, your father came, he saw and he conquered.
That seems to be your final word.
Oh, sorry.
But not, well, you have please just give us your final word. I'm sure you'll be coming back.
We want to thank Plateau people. We'll be giving you feedback. You'll also give us feedback. We'll work in the interest of the growth of Plateau. If Plateau grows, whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, you benefit. Whether you practice African traditional religion or you don't even practice any of them. If Plateau is in crisis, it affects all these layers of persons that I've called. So we need the support of our people to grow. We need the support of our people to develop. The time is now for us to have a new Plateau. The time is now for us to set Plateau in the Committee of Nations, in those that are growing. The time is now for us to be given references with Plateau. Let's not be myopic, let's not be trivial, let's not be filial. Let's look at these things from an angle of development. If you are a Muslim, it's a good thing that you are. If I'm a Christian, it's a good thing that I am. So practice your religion, let me practice mine. The bottom line, the nexus of everything is for us to develop ourselves so that we'll bequeath a legacy that is beautiful for our children and their children, so that we live in just like we used to in the past, so that we live on the plateau like we used to in the past. Let's not try to paint a picture that is ugly. We have beautiful scenes in Jos. We have clement weather. We have beautiful fruits. We have food. We have great people.
And we have hospitable people.
Very well.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. We have come to the end of it for today. I look forward to our moments where Plateau, Jos in particular, would be a conference center of the world. With this, we've come to the end of today's editions. Stay tuned for other programs in Unity 93.3 FM. Bye-bye.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead.